Here's a little recap of things going on in the world. Um, just a reminder of what has been happening um, in the banking sector and global economy altogether. The credit crisis that took place a few years ago was never really fixed. But the governments had enough firepower to bail out the banks that behaved very, very naughty. Along with the banks, the ones that were found themselves in trouble were the automakers, because next to a mortgage, the second biggest loan most people have is actually a car loan. And that entire market, the entire auto industry, depends on borrowing money. And also involved were insurers and eventually also pension funds that came into trouble because of the credit crunch. But in order to bail all these sectors out, the bailouts happened at the expense of the taxpayer. That's ultimately the main source of revenue of any government, is the taxpayer, you and me. So now we are in a situation where the governments have run out of firepower. Governments themselves need bailing out because most Western governments, at least on paper, are already bankrupt. It may not seem like that the way they carry on business and pretend as if things are fine, but on paper, most major governments in the world are already bankrupt. That includes actually China and India, who are heavily in debt to their own people by borrowing from their own people in bonds and by misinvesting huge amounts of assets. Now, public debt in most developed economies in the world is higher than it has ever been before, and it simply cannot be reversed. A situation has come where in just a few months of the year, the interest payable alone is where most of the government expenditure goes. Instead of paying down the capital of the borrowing, governments are now struggling to pay the interest on the borrowing. So, this is reality check number one. Do not look for governments and for their financial support. Make your own arrangements and do it quickly. Please watch the next video.